What's going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are back discussing the new historical epic film by the name of The Woman King, starring Viola Davis and coming to theaters on September 16th. Now, I did get a chance to see this a little bit early, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts with you all and let you know by the end of this review if I believe this film is worth your time. We're going to be breaking it all down in today's spoiler-free breakdown, but before we get into it, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any of my daily content. You can also give your boy a follow on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. All those links can be found in the description of this video. If you enjoyed today's movie review, make sure you're giving the video a thumbs up as well as sharing the review. It would really mean a lot to me, and I appreciate the support. But more importantly, I want to know your thoughts. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you right there. Once you've seen The Woman King, let me know your pros, your cons. What did you think of the direction, the story, the performances? What worked? What resonated with you in the story? What didn't work for you in the film? Let's talk about it in the comments below. So a couple things I want to address before we actually get into the review. I'm going to leave descriptions and time codes and chapters all below in this video, but I want to be on my little soapbox for a minute or two. First thing I want to address, I'm not a historian, and I'm not going to pretend to be one in this review. My knowledge about the group that we're following in this film is very limited. Now, when it comes to this all-female warrior unit who protected West Africa and the Kingdom of Dahomey in the 19th century, growing up, I knew a lot of women that kind of put me on game, that gave me the information. I wasn't getting this information in school. Now, you all know that's another conversation for another day, but I knew a little bit about them growing up. Now, as I got a little bit older, being a fan of DC and Marvel, I'm a big Black Panther fan, and knowing that, if you all may or may not know, the Dora Milaje is inspired by the group that we're following in this film. So again, I say all that to say, this review is not meant to be a review about this was historically accurate, this was wrong, this was right. No, I'm talking about what worked in the film, what didn't work, and ultimately if it's worth your time. Second thing I want to address, I pride myself on kind of having my ears to the ground when it comes to movie and TV news. We cover it a lot here on this channel, and I already know the game. Listen, I already know there's people out there that saw the title of this film, saw the trailer, all Black female warriors. Man, this film is woke. Man, there's an agenda, the pandering, this, that, and the third. Listen, I'm not here to change your mind. That's your personal thoughts and perspective on things. That's, you talk to your mom, brother, sister, lawyer, therapist. I'm not here to change your mind. I say that to say I'm here to talk about this movie. I'm not here to be talking about toxicity and pandering and woke and this, that, and third. We're talking about a movie, and I want to talk about it with all you all that want to have that discussion. So with that being said, let's talk about the direction and what I liked about Gina Prince-Bythewood. Now, I've been following Gina's career since 2000's Love and Basketball, Secret Life of Bees, and even more recently, The Old Guard. Now, I think, in my personal opinion, having seen her previous work, to me, this is her best direction to date. And I say that because this is the biggest kind of, as far as scope and scale and kind of the story that we have at hand, I just thought that she did such a good job of bringing all the pieces to the puzzle together. Whether it was her leading this amazing group of women, and as far as the performances that we get here, whether it is navigating through the narrative, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of politics I wasn't expecting, dive into the slave trade, a lot of different things in regards to what it means to be a warrior, strength and your weakness, which we'll talk a little bit about the themes a little bit later. But I just thought Gina, the passion's there, the confidence is there, and we'll talk about it because I mentioned The Old Guard. It's not one of my favorite films of hers. You might have seen it on Netflix, starring Charlize Theron. It's probably one of her first big blockbuster action films that she has tackled, and there was some shortcomings in the story, but I didn't think the action was handled all that well. But I bring that up because we're going to talk about it a little bit later. The action was shot very well by Gina. Like, she did such a great job of really just putting you in the trenches and just making you feel the brutality and the savage nature of those fight sequences. So I thought, from a directional standpoint, absolutely fantastic. Y'all know I like to appreciate good production. When it comes to the hair and makeup, the costuming, all that stuff to me was absolutely beautiful to look at, especially when it comes to capturing the score in this film, capturing the essence and capturing the authenticity of the African tribes and just feeling like you're there in Africa during that time. I just thought that all that stuff really came together well. So from a productional standpoint, absolutely knocked it out of the park. Getting back into those performances here, supporting cast, let's talk about them first because there's some two MVPs for me. I want to talk about John Boyega, who's the king of this film. Now, we're going to talk about some of the, like I said, controversy a little bit later in the review, but I want to say this. John Boyega, he's a king that demands your attention. He's a king of equality. He's a king that just has such great confidence on screen, and I just really enjoyed his performance there. Very believable in his role. Also, Lashana Lynch, who has just proven time over time that she is a megastar on the rise. She brings a little bit more of levity to this very heavy, kind of dense subject matter that we have in this film. There's some dark moments in this movie. Again, I mentioned the slave trade. There's some battle sequences that's very dark. There's some sexual assault that happens in this film. So there's some much needed levity, and I thought Lashana Lynch, who is a badass, don't get me wrong, she's an absolute badass in this film when it comes to the fight sequences, but you also get more of, like I said, the laughs and the levity, and she brings a lot of that to the role, and I thought she was fantastic. I also want to mention another great supporting actress by the name of Sheila Atim, who is a close friend to Viola Davis' character, and Sheila brought a lot of the heart to the film, and I really appreciated what she brought there. But let's talk about the MVPs. Number one, spoiler alert, Viola Davis is incredible in this film. Water is wet, and Viola Davis is fantastic. Now, I won't go as far as to say, because I've been following her career. She's one of the best of our generation. I've been following her career for a very long time. I'm not saying this is her best performance that she's ever given, but the commitment to the role is just absolutely fantastic. It's stellar. She is giving you everything in this role, the blood, the sweat, the tears. I grew up in a household where you never reveal a woman's age, and it's public knowledge. She's a megastar, but she's in her later 50s. You couldn't have told me that watching this film. I mean, the commitment, the believability of her being this leader of these group of women, and there's so many great monologues and just moments of strength. But the one thing that I really enjoyed about Viola Davis' character is she's a flawed character, and those are my favorite characters because it shows so many different layers and its complexity, and she's not always right. She doesn't always win every fight in this film. She doesn't always have the best intentions at points, and I love the journey that we go on with Viola Davis. And like I said, might not be her best performance, but one of the most committed performances that she gives in her career, and absolutely great. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear her name come Oscar season. She might not win, but I definitely anticipate her name to be mentioned. Transitioning to a young lady that I have come across last year, and I thought she was fantastic in a TV show by the name of The Underground Railroad, which was brought to us by Barry Jenkins, and I'm talking about the one and only Thuso Mbedu. Now, I again was put on game with her performance last year in Underground Railroad as Cora. She was great, and as are, some might say, maybe the lead of this film. It is more Viola Davis, but there's a lot of depth within Thuso's role. You might have seen the trailer where it's a pretty simple premise. You've seen it before. She's a young girl who has a little bit of arrogance. She is someone that has a lot of pushback on the traditions of this time, and she's brought to these group of warriors, and she has to prove herself to become a warrior. And it's within that arc, it's within that journey that I really found the nuance in her performance, and I really applaud Thuso because it takes confidence, it takes skill and talent to go toe-to-toe with Viola Davis in some of the more intense scenes and some of the more bigger reveals that this film has to offer. And I thought Thuso did such a fantastic job. So production, direction, supporting cast, leading role, everyone. Honestly, guys, there's a lot of other people in this film that has maybe a couple different scenes, but everyone, the commitment's there, man. The commitment is really there within this film, and I really do applaud the entire cast. Transitioning over a little bit into the story, this film is about warriors, and these warriors aren't saints, y'all. Now, again, the little bit that I know about this is based on true events. A little bit I do know when it comes to this particular group of women. They flourished within capturing and selling slaves, right? And this film doesn't ignore it. It does not ignore it in this story. Instead, they put a certain spin to it. Again, they're taking creative liberties to kind of enhance their story and the narrative they're telling, and I thought it worked. Again, knowing what really happened and how the film plays it off. Again, we're talking about the film here. I really enjoyed how, again, this film shows these warriors were not saints, and they did not shy away from, again, the slavery and them being involved in selling and buying different slaves. But again, the way the film handles that narrative and showing you, again, the strength within weaknesses and enhancing yourself, learning from mistakes, and also doing better by your people. So I liked how the film kind of handled that. Transitioning into another thing that really stood out to me, and I really want to bring this up. The impact and also my theater experience. Number one, the impact to me meant a lot because I go back to 2018, seeing Black Panther and seeing it as a black man and growing up with this character T'Challa and seeing all these black, beautiful, incredible, talented individuals give that performance that they did back in 2018 is something I would never forget. And I remember being in the theater with all my other brothers and sisters, black and brown, young boys and girls dressed up and just taking all that in. This film, I wouldn't say has that same impact for me, but I go back to saying going in my audience, seeing The Woman King and seeing little girls with their moms and seeing little boys with their dads and vice versa, and just seeing that on the big screen, because this is a subject matter, this particular group, I've only, as far as pop culture goes, I mentioned Dora Milaje, I also mentioned, I forgot to mention earlier, hashtag this in the comments right now if you're watching this, Restore Lovecraft Country. There was an episode of Lovecraft Country that shined a light on this group here. There's not a lot of stories of this tribe, but there's also not a lot of stories of women in this position of power. And I thought the impact there of seeing, again, this boys and girls, seeing black women and strong women and empowering, that meant a lot to me. And also I want to talk a little bit of my theater experience. This is a crowd pleaser. And there were moments, and I have no shame. If you've been a part of this family for a while, you know that I have no problems admitting my emotion. And when I get emotional in films, I didn't straight up bawl my eyes out, but I got emotional hearing the crowd pleased and seeing a particular emotional beats that resonates with black people. And in particular, I can't relate to this, but I know that there were women in that theater that appreciate the lines, the dialogue, the monologues, the moments that happen. So it is definitely a crowd pleaser for a broad audience, but in particularly for my people out there, you know what I'm referring to when you see the film. It really kind of hit on a lot of different levels, especially when it comes to abolishing certain things. So I really enjoyed that experience. But let's pivot over to the action. I mentioned how Gina handled some shortcomings in the old guard. I thought the action wasn't handled all that well. Graduation time, because she is doing her thing, man. The action, I was so surprised when I found it was PG-13, because this film is brutal. This film is savage, man. Again, we're not holding back. The film does a really good job of not showing you what's happening, but you understand what's happening. It's alluded to, and it's done in such a great way. But again, I want to stress from the opening scene, that action sequence, to the last few action sequences were edge of my seat action, man. I thought the action was handled very well in this film. And last thing I want to touch on when it comes to the themes, what I really took away from this film and what it means to be a leader, but also what it means to be a warrior, but more importantly, finding the strength within your weaknesses. Something that really stood out to me in this film, and I really appreciate it. So with all that being said, the film is, without a doubt, it's not perfect. There's a lot of things I liked about the film, but it's not perfect. And I say that because there are little minor things. I appreciate the commitment in the accents, but every now and then you could tell the actors were kind of dropping out of accents. It's kind of more noticeable in the beginning of the film, and it kind of gets better as the film goes along. This is a little minor thing that came to mind, but I do want to say, as far as some major things, this film is missing some of the nuances in the story. There are some moments that I found like it was very kind of broad and very mainstream in some of the subject matters that they were tackling in this film, in particular when it comes to the slavery aspect and the politics involved and some of the decisions the king made. And again, John Boyega is a male king and empowering these women. And I know there was some missed opportunity to really kind of touch on the significance of this man giving the women the more empowerment, because we all know from centuries, men, women, and how the power scales, why would you call a woman a king and this, that, and the other, which I will address this now for those haters out there. This film is not a story about men are terrible. The men in this film are terrible. All the men are evil. That's not the case. And you'll see that with John Boyega and a various amount of other male figures in this film. Not to spoil anything, but the women warriors and the men fight side by side in this film, and it's an equal amount of respect, and I'll just say that. But going back to what I was just mentioning in regards to some of my criticisms, there's a lot of broad strokes, and it's missing some of the nuances and more of the deeper conversations that the film had to offer. And also, too, there are some stereotypical characters, the quote-unquote bad guy, the good guy, and this, that, and the other. There's some stereotypical things that I wish was a little bit more expandable on. And again, the nuance was kind of missing some of those moments. But I will also mention one of the things I did not enjoy about this film. It didn't completely take me away, but it's one of the more weaker elements in the story. There is a subplot, a romantic subplot, that I know what they were getting at, and it does have a bit of a payoff to a particular character, but I could have went without it because I didn't find the chemistry to be all that great. And also, it just kind of went against the idea of finding strength within your weaknesses and also these warriors. And I felt like it was a conflict of what the narrative was trying to give. So that subplot, that romantic subplot, didn't really work out for me. At the end of the day, do I recommend this film? What's my score? Should you see it in theaters? Before we get to that point, I appreciate you for sticking around to this point in the video. Just a friendly reminder, like, share, comment, and subscribe. overall, when it comes to The Woman King, my overall thoughts is this is a crowd-pleasing film that has a very big impact on today's culture. I thought that Gina did a great job in direction. Viola Davis, Thuso, and the rest of the supporting cast brought their A game. I appreciated their commitment and their performances. And again, focusing on the theme of finding the strength within your weaknesses and not ignoring the more historical elements in the film and taking, again, some creative liberties to tell this narrative. I really enjoyed that aspect. The action was handled well. There are some missed opportunities to really dive deeper into the subject matters, and also some of those subplots, like I mentioned, the romance didn't work for me. But at the end of the day, go see this film. Go support this film. It's something that I think a lot of us need to go support. And again, woke, agenda, pandering, this isn't that film. This is a film y'all need to go check out September 16th. And with that being said, I'm going to give The Woman King a 4 out of 5. That's my thoughts, my pros, my cons. Go see this film. When you do, let me know what you all thought of it. And talk pros, let's talk cons. What worked, what didn't work. Let's have those conversations in the comments section. Thank you for the support, for watching this video. Again, if you're here, if you're still here watching this video, I thank you so much. Again, like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe and come and join the community. Hit that button right here. Check out my other reviews. Check out my most recent breakdown, and we'll catch you all on the next video.